Hey y'all. Hey, it's Josh, the author of The Saga of the Dead Men Walking, and I just wanted to take a minute and give you guys some real talk. Um, you hear authors specifically, but you hear this from creators all the time talk about imposter syndrome, where you're doing a task, where you're making something, whether you're performing or you're creating, real physical artwork, or you're writing something down, and you are like, well, wait a minute, I'm not good enough to really call myself an author. I'm not good enough to call myself an artist or a painter or a singer or whatever. You start comparing yourself to people who have made millions of dollars at your craft, and it's like, wow, I, I suck. I suck a lot. And it gets to be a real mental block for a lot of people. Where the truth is, if you make something, you are by very definition that something. If you sing a song, you are a singer. If you make a painting, you are a painter. If you fix a roof, you are probably better off to hire somebody else to do it if you are anything like me. But it's not leaking at the moment. Yay. Um, but in all truth, we talk about imposter syndrome a lot because it's something that a lot of people go through. One thing that we don't talk about, and I really think that as a content creator community, again, I don't care what kind of content you are, is idiot syndrome. I don't know if that's the right word for it. It's the word that I'm going to use because it's the word that I have been calling myself every day, the last 4 days straight. Um, Here's what I mean by idiot syndrome. When you are a content creator, you are generally focused on making things the best that you can. You don't want to have something leave your house, leave your workstation, leave your whatever that is in any way crappy. You don't want someone to pick up your work and go, this is really cool until I really start looking at it. No, I'm not talking the difference between someone who is new to their craft and doesn't know how to hit all the notes in a song, or doesn't know. I can't use music because I don't know anything about music. Someone who can't bust a rhyme, I guess. No? Um, I'm talking about someone who has been doing what they've been doing for a while, and that they knew better. As in, not to use IT apostrophe S in when you're using a plurality, because that's a thing that the English language says you can't do, which is stupid because you should, because we use apostrophe S for everything else. But I digress. English. Anyways, so I'm not talking about being new and making mistakes, because we all do that. We all make mistakes. It's how we learn. It's how we get better. Like, I apparently am still an idiot at buttoning up a shirt correctly, because I just noticed I'm 4 minutes into this video and I have my shirt buttoned lopsidedly. I mean, it's a nice shirt. Things like this. This is idiot syndrome. I have been buttoning shirts since I was 10, I think, and I still can't do it right. This is idiot syndrome. This is a block that I fight all the time, and I'm certain, I know for a fact that other people I know who are content creators do. They fight this all the time. They fight the fact that when you go to correct your errors, when you go to polish your work, you are still finding really simple, really stupid errors. Why? Because we're human, we're buggy. We make mistakes, we screw things up. Even when we are decades of experience, or in my case, 5, 6 years of experience, plus the time I spent in college, you still will make mistakes. And there'll be stupid mistakes, and there'll be easy mistakes, and there are things that better. You're still going to make them. And Then we get to the idiot syndrome part, because the idiot syndrome is you make them and you go back to fix them, but as you're fixing them, you do nothing but call yourself an idiot the entire time you're fixing them. Because when you see a missed period or a missed quotation mark or a missed hyphen, or you can't spell the, no matter how many times it goes through spell check, and don't look at me that way, you've done it too, you feel like an idiot. You judge yourself super freaking harshly because you know that you know better. And you will judge yourself that harshly, and you will call yourself an idiot if you are anything like me. And I'm sad to say that I know quite a few of you are very much like me, and for that I am sorry, because nobody should be. And it doesn't get easier when you can break it down by the numbers. I'm going to give you an example of that. Insanity's Reckoning, last I looked at it, which is coming out May 18th, is around 140,000 words. Okay. It's 297 pages. It's going to be more than that before it comes out. I know this because I have spent the last 4 days, not 5, doing this. Now this is now right side up. This, you've probably seen me make mention of this before. These are my page of my final edits. Yes, I have 16 of these pages. 16 pages where I have gone through reading from my tablet and reading my final pre-published PDF, and I have put every page number, every sentence. I have copied part of the sentence so I can Control F search it in my document when I go to transcribe these. And then I have marked on these what word, phrase, other needs to be removed and what's replacing it. Now, most of these, like I said, it's 16 pages. It is 16 pages of notes that I have taken of my own work, not somebody else's work that has gone past my editor, who is incredibly talented, a brilliant writer herself, to very talented ARC readers, one person who reads and writes fiction for the fun of it, another person who is a teacher, and I've run snippets past I don't know how many other people. I have put the first chapter up for download on my website, and I've gone through it after all that, and that's them. That's not counting the spell check that I ran, the first read through, the individual breakdowns of about 20 pages at a time that I plug through free grammar editing software called Grammarly. That's not counting the additional read-through I gave it when I printed it off. That's not counting the what I call the red pen edits, where I print it off and I read through it and I make notes for it. This is my pre-publish. This is my let's put the spit and polish on it and let's go with it. And still, after all of those steps, after literally, I don't know, 40 hours of work as it is, 50 hours of work just editing. And when I say 50 hours of work, I mean my editing, not theirs, my editing. I still found enough things that were, some were blatantly wrong. Some are missed periods, some are missed quotation marks. Others are just things that I think should be phrased differently, or a sentence or two that needs to be added. I would love to give you examples, but I'm looking through these, and my notes are so short, they look like it's more of a math problem than it does a word problem. But when I've done this, I have caught the couple of minor glaring errors. Most of these changes are not errors. They're just ways to reword something. Is anybody going to notice if I don't reword a sentence? Probably not. You'll have no idea what I changed on page 60 or 44, or when I added 5 words in an italics on page 212, which these pages are going to be wrong because by the time I get done adding a couple of sentences and paragraphs in page 5, 6, and it's going to screw the page numbers up, and that's another thing that'll have to be fixed. You won't notice, more than likely, unless I put a typo in one of these changes, which if I do, Again, back to the idiot syndrome. What I'm getting at is 140 some odd thousand words. There are roughly 10 corrections per page, 16 pages. Call it 15 at the most. It's around 350 individual edits. Again, after 50 hours of editing to start with, my final 350 changes. Knowing that I have this many changes, knowing that I have this many things that do not meet my standards, sucks. It sucks. It sucks hard. I feel like I shouldn't bother writing a blessed thing because, holy crap, can I word? I don't know, can I? This tells me that I can't word. This tells me that I can't spell. This tells me that I shouldn't be allowed near a keyboard. Because with this many changes, after that many hours of edits, I should have it bloody well. Can't say that. I should have this done by now. I should. This should be good to go. I should be able to plug it right into at a Kindle format or whatever. It should be done. And I am a blessed idiot. That is not necessarily the word that I always use to call myself, but it is one of them, I promise. And I have beat myself up for 4 days. I have beaten myself up for the week prior to starting this because I knew I was going to beat myself up for 4 days because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you think you're an idiot, you're going to find ways to verify you're an idiot. And we don't talk about this. We don't talk about how we feel when we're polishing. We don't talk about how we feel when we are correcting our mistakes. It is very imperative to correct our mistakes. It's very correct to go back and fix things for us to put out the best product we possibly can. It is going to offend me to the end of my life that I'm going to know, and I will know, there are still going to be a couple of typos in this book. Why? Because there will be. Now, here's the thing that we don't tell ourselves as content creators, and it's something that I keep having to tell myself every day this last week, whether I'm actually working on it or whether I'm at the gym venting because I've had to be working on it. 140,000 words, 320 individual changes right here. Do the math. 320 divided by 140,000. Alexa, what's 320 divided by 140,000? 0.0023%. It's not even a full percent. It's not even a 0.00. It's not even a hundredth of a percent of the total work. Unless my math is totally wrong, but 0.0023 or 0.0023? No, 0.0023. Yeah, so it's like 2 hundredths, thousandths. I don't know math, so I'm a writer. Think of how infinitesimally small that number is. All right, and again, of these 320 changes, I think 10 were actual grammatical mistakes. 10 mistakes out of 140,000 words. Don't ask how many characters are in it. I don't remember that number, but it's like 6 times as high, I think. So almost 1 million individual characters, and there are 10 legitimate mistakes out of this 320 pages. Now, I can look at that number, if it's presented to me outside of this context, and say, that's next to nothing. Look, I wish my cholesterol numbers were that good. Let's be honest. By comparison, I do. Let's look at the grand scheme of things. If you told me that in a box of 140,000 nails, 320 of them had a dent on them, I would not care. I wouldn't. Now, maybe I would care if I was better at roofing. But if it still worked to get it in, I wouldn't care if there's a dent on it. If you told me that out of 140,000 cars, 320 of them had a tar stain in the back seat, I might wonder about the factory a little. I wouldn't care. The average person probably won't care that I'm making 320 changes. Now, there's a tolerance. I'm not saying it's not important to make the changes, because it is. There's a tolerance. You see 10 typos. Okay. Uh, if you're just reading for enjoyment, you'll probably skip over them. If there are 320 typos, you're going to put the book down. I don't really care who you are. You're going to see them and be like, why did I pay money for this? So we do have to be cognizant of how many legit errors there are that we're changing. If we're making 320 legitimate errors, not 320 things where you are changing where a noun is used from one paragraph to another. That's not a big deal. Or changing began to say to spoke. Nobody's going to care. Nobody but you. Nobody but the content creator. Nobody but the person putting it down is going to care about that. And it is important. It is so important to not beat yourself up. And I say this as a guy who has been beating himself up for days. I say this as a guy who has been reminding himself what the math is every day. I finished this after working for 6 to 8 hours, and I'm like, okay, it's not as bad as I feel it is. I'm not as dumb as I think I am, because it could be worse. Hey, and you know what's even worse is not realizing that there's something there you want to change. Trust me when I say hubris will make you feel worse 2 or 3 years later than finding the errors now. Trust me. I've been going through that lately too. But idiot syndrome is real. When you talk to your friends who are self-editing or self-publishing or finishing up a piece of artwork and they're getting frustrated with themselves, remind them, look, you're not doing bad by finding the mistakes. Now, if you've got an absolute ton of mistakes and you're constantly creating the same mistakes, I have a cheat sheet now that I go to, that I have made myself every time I publish, that tells me to go through and look for certain words that for whatever reason are baked into my head as spelled the wrong way. My mom used to kick my backside because I could not spell the word barely for 5 years. 5 years I could not spell barely because I always spelled it as barley. That works if I was in beer, but I'm not. And I had to address that, and I still don't know why, and I have to go back and check it. It still catches me up. I have to go through every document I put out and search for IT apostrophe S. And when I search for it, I have to ask myself, am I using it as a contraction, or am I using it incorrectly as a possessive? And I have to sound it off in my brain every usage. It is. It is. And it gets tiring, and I don't know why. My head is wired wrong some days, but all of us have heads that are wired wrong some days. And there are things that we have to recognize. But when we do recognize them, and when we do build up the, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Infrastructure, I guess, to catch and fix those mistakes, it no longer becomes an idiot moment. It becomes a quality control moment. Quality control is super important. If you had 6,000 cars coming out with tar in the back seat, that would be a problem. 320, much smaller, much fewer, can patch it easier. So that's the point I'm getting to. You will feel like an idiot when you are a content creator. I don't care who you are. I don't care how full of yourself you are, unless you are entirely detached from reality. I firmly believe there are points in your career, whatever your career is, you will feel like an idiot. And when you are engaged in a career like this one, where you are a content creator, where you are individually and specifically responsible for the work you put out. I really do feel that at some point you are going to look yourself in the mirror, in your phone, in the reflection from the stove, whatever, and go, I am a, we'll leave out that adjective, idiot. And you will be angry at yourself. And you maybe feel entirely justified. And you're going to watch this video and you're like, wow, this is 20 minutes I've wasted in my life. I never feel like an idiot. Really? Really? You don't? Really? Okay. All right. Maybe you don't. Maybe I'm unique in this. I don't think that I am. Idiot syndrome is a real thing. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about how we beat ourselves up. And we don't tell ourselves that by taking the time to find the errors that make us feel like idiots, we are doing a better job. That's important. This idiot stage is important because if you're not fixing it, if you're sitting on it and you're not doing a blessed thing about it, you are putting out material that is beneath you. And I can't button a shirt, apparently. Did I button it right? I don't know. See, I can't even get the fact that I buttoned my shirt right. Right. That's how my weekend editing has been. I can't even tell when I've buttoned a shirt right. But I fixed it. If I wasn't 21 minutes into this video, I would restart it and fix my shirt to start with, but it makes a perfect example. So please don't beat yourself up when you are making the effort to fix your mistakes. Don't care if it's content, don't care if it's your life. You fouled up, but you caught it. If you're writing, you hopefully caught it before you did some kind of major damage to your sales. If it's in something else, hopefully you caught it before it became a problem for someone else. It is exhausting, it is tiring, it is annoying, but it's important. And you shouldn't feel bad for doing something that's important. No matter the fact that it's going to make you feel bad, I just want you to remember you are not the only person who feels like an idiot when you're creating content. And the fact that you feel like an idiot in this moment means that you are cognizant of the choices you have made and you are working to better yourselves by correcting them. By bettering yourselves, you're bettering your product. By bettering your product, you're making more sales. By making more sales, you can find ways to hopefully avoid making as many mistakes. Because, I mean, money doesn't solve everything, but it helps a lot. Yeah, that's the crux of the video. Idiot syndrome. We talk about imposter syndrome. We don't talk about idiot syndrome. I would love to know how you feel about idiot syndrome. Give me some examples. Show me that I am not alone in my 16 pages of 15 corrections, each a page, and that I'm not completely wasting my time with this. This is a longer video than I thought it was going to be. Probably rambling a bit, but it's what I do. That said, Insanity's Reckoning, and these 16 pages coming out May 18th, 2021. It's about a week from now. In addition, I don't have it in front of me, but in addition, Insanity's Respite is going on sale this week. 99 cents for your Kindle. Free always on Kindle Unlimited, but 99 cents for your Kindle for a few days this week. If you haven't started the Aromancer's Exorcism and you want to begin before book 3 lands, it's a great time to do it. All right, everybody. I've got people to kill in a literal or literary fashion, and this book is not going to correct itself, unfortunately. Take care, be safe, be well, and I'll see you all very soon.